I never thought that I wanted to be a horse, but ever since I saw this picture of this horse online, I've been thinking about how I can get that really nice, glowy, pearlescent skin, and also have a little bit of a yap about my favorite kinds of highlighters that I like to use on my textured skin. So let's get started. I already did my skincare. I just put on some toner and a good moisturizer and let it sit for a couple of hours at this point. The first highlighter that I want to use to get that really glowy sheen to my skin is the Rare Beauty liquid illuminizers, and I really love how pearlescent it looks in the bottle. The shimmer particles in this formula isn't the biggest, which is great for textured skin. I find that the bigger the particles of shimmer there are in the highlighter itself, the more it emphasizes the texture of my acne scars on my skin. So I'm just going to be using this all over my face to get a skin of a killer kind of look. And of course, this look isn't really for going out. I just want to see how much I can push the limits of my skin and see how much highlighter I can put on it. So I'm just using a dense brush to blend it into my skin. And I'm already looking really metallic. And I'm going all over my eyelids as well. Basically my entire face. But as you can see, even though I put the shimmer all over my face, it doesn't actually emphasize any of my acne scars. The acne scars are still there, of course, but it doesn't look worse. I actually like using this highlighter as a base for my other highlighters that I like to use. And I love using this before I powder my skin as well because it shows up really well under powder still. Next, I'm going in with a foundation. I'm using the Clinique Even Better Clinical Foundation in the shade 64 Cream Beige. And I'm pumping some out on the back of my hand. It's a really light formula, spreading it on top of the highlighter that I put down. And I'm using the same brush to press it into my skin. Now with the foundation on top, my skin doesn't look as crazy as it did without, but it still has that uniform glow to the skin. Next, I'm just going in my closest concealer and concealing the dark spots under my eyes and the redness around my nose and chin. Again, using the same brush to just press the product into my skin. And then just using my fingers to press the product in even further and to blend it out seamlessly into the rest of the products on my skin. And that's what my skin is looking like right now. And I think I do want to add another layer of this Rare Beauty illuminator on top of it. But I'm just taking it on my finger and then just patting it onto the high points of my face. This is just to amp up the glow that I'm getting from the Rare Beauty illuminator because the foundation did dull it out a little bit. And I'm also placing more on my brow bone and in the center of my forehead. I don't want to be setting my skin with powder just yet. Instead, I'm going in with the Makeup by Mario Soft Setting Mist. Mostly because I just don't want my skin to look matte at any point. I want it to look as glowy and iridescent as possible at all times. As for highlighter, I do have a little collection of my favorite highlighters in this Muji drawer. And when it comes to powder highlights, my favorite formula has to be the Chemic Minuto highlighters. And these aren't really powder highlighters per se, they're more of a cream to powder finish. So they do feel a little bit soft when you press it in the pan. And this is why it looks like swatched on my finger. It's more of a metallic finish kind of highlighter, and if you're not a fan of metallic finishes, it's fine. So even though it can look a little bit metallic on the skin, it's not going to emphasize much texture, especially if you put it on more pinpointed areas like the top of your cheekbone. And in this case, for my skin, I don't have a lot of acne scars on top of my cheekbone itself, it's more concentrated on my cheek. But so I can afford to put a little bit more of a metallic texture highlighter on top of my cheekbones instead of a more glittery one that might migrate down to my acne scars. Another one of my favorites is this one from Cezanne. It's also more of a metallic sheen kind of highlighter, and it's really pretty on the skin because it does almost look a little bit wet. For example, this is the Can Make one, and this is the Cezanne highlighter. Texture-wise, I do find that the Cezanne one looks a little bit more wet on the skin, but I really just like using them interchangeably because it gives such a lovely glowy finish to the skin. I do tend to reach for the Can Make a little bit more because of the creamy texture, and that texture allows me to use my fingers and lightly spread it on my skin, and it's also really compact, so I use it a lot for traveling. I've also just recently gotten the Glint highlighters, and the highlighters do look a little bit more opaque in the pan and on my finger when I swatch it out compared to the Can Make and Cezanne ones, but it does have a slightly softer texture and a slightly less metallic finish to it. It's a little bit more powdery, but that makes it really easy to blend and sheer out if needed compared to the Cezanne and Clinique ones. Similarly, I also have the Judydoll contour palette, and this is the old version. But highlighter in this is also really finely nailed and it's a little bit more on the dewy side. But this is what it looks like swatched out. But it also gives a lovely dewy look to the skin because it's a little bit more on the translucent side in terms of the colour. But you can sort of see that there's like a running trend in the types of highlighters that I like to use. The shimmers tend to be more fine, and I do gravitate towards a warmer tone for my highlighters because I have warm undertones. Okay, a little bit of a cut here because I forgot to mention this highlighter, but I really like the House Labs Bio Radiant Gel highlighters. I have this one in Peach Quartz and it's so pretty in the pan. And this is what it looks like swatched on my finger and what it looks like on my skin. Again, beautifully shimmery, not too glittery, and gives a nice dewy look to the skin. I think for my highlighter today, I'm going in with the Cezanne highlighter on a sort of dense brush, and I'm placing it on the high points of my cheeks again. So you can see that the highlighter is getting more intense compared to this side. And I really like highlighting my cupid's bow, my brow bone, as well as this part of my eye. The horse sort of has that peachy, pinky kind of eye look on his eyes, so I'm going in with a peachy version of the Glint highlighter. This is in the shade Peach Moon, and I'm taking it on the same brush, and I'm using it all over my lids. Moving on to more eyeshadows, I'm going with this Snidel palette that I got when I was in Hong Kong. And this is the Snidel Eye Designer in number 9. And it's basically a full shimmer palette, and I find that Japanese shimmers are really underrated in terms of highlighters, but I find that Japanese brands do really pretty scattered glitter eyeshadows. This is one of my favorites from Charcotte, and it's a single shadow in SP08. And the Snidel palette has bits and pieces of glittery eyeshadows, but the formula of these are really smooth, and they give a good amount of pigment in the shadows. So I'm going in with a mixture of these two shades. I think I'm going to go in with the peachier shade here. I'm going over my lids again, lightly pressing the shadows in place. You can see how beautiful the finish is. Next, I'm going in with the pinkier shade, moving it closer to my lash line. And now I'm just taking the tip of the brush and using that same pink shade underneath. And this house sort of has this brown liner thing going on, so I'm going in with a liquid liner. There's the brown shade from the brand Love liner, and I'm just doing a small wing. And for my lower lash line, I'm going in with this shimmery brown shade from the Visee palette. And I'm just going on top of the liner that I drew in, and also defining my lower lash line. And for the finish of my eyeshadow, I'm going in with the same Cezanne highlighter, and using my fingers to place it at the center of my lid. And I'm going in with this silvery gel liner pencil from Colourpop in my waterline. To finish my eye look, I'm just going to curl my lashes and put on my mascara. And I'm using the skinny version of the Judydoll Iron Mascara that I really like. And I'm making sure to concentrate the product on the base of my roots. And with whatever's left on the brush, I'm lightly brushing through the tips of my lashes to get that defined lash look. And to add even more shimmer to my eyes, I'm going in with this glittery eyeliner pen. This is from Gui, but I just randomly bought this off Shopee, so do as if you will. And I'm just placing a line at the inner corner of my eyes. And I'm placing a small little dot. And I'm layering it on top of the powder highlighter I put before. One of my eyes are extra iridescent and sparkly. I'm just going to lightly fill my brows at the ABH brow is. So I just want something a little bit more defined. But I don't want to keep it on the lighter side because I want my overall look to look light. And I always love extending the tail of my brows out to match the length of my wing, compared to this side where it falls a little bit short. Moving on to blush, I have a shimmery blush that I like from Cezanne as well. And it's sort of a blush toppery kind of situation here. These aren't exactly the most metallic or glittery, but because of that they add a really nice sheen to your skin. So I'm also going in with this peachy shade. I'm just pressing it on my cheekbone area. And I used to think that I could only use matte blushes on my skin because of all the acne scars that I have. But as it turns out, sometimes having it too matte of the skin really emphasizes the texture because it makes everything look really dry. And I found that using slightly more glowy and dewy products actually do help my skin look a bit better. And that's also why, despite my skin being oily and causing my acne to begin with, I'm really grateful that my skin is more on the oily side right now because my skin tends to look better as the day goes by. To keep with the glowy theme, I'm going in with the Rare Beauty Liquid Contour, and this is in the shade Solace. I know that a lot of people have been complaining about this particular contour because the shades aren't cool toned enough, and I do agree. Some shades are more on the warm bronzier side, but it does give a little bit of a sheen to your skin. So that's why I'm using to contour my face, and I'm just using a small rounded brush. I'm just doing some light contouring with it. Just using my foundation brush to blend it out. And to finish up my lips, I think I want to go in with a nice dewy lip oil kind of thing. And I'm using this one from Judydoll. It's a twist up lip gloss with a metal applicator. And I'm going to apply a thick layer of it on my lips. And I always like to bring up my lip glosses towards my cupid's bow and towards the bottom of my bottom lip. And I find that it gives a nice blurry effect to the lip line and makes my lips look a little bit bigger. And I'll be deepening up just the center of my lip with this Rare Beauty lip oil. And this is in the shade Nearly Neutral. And I'm just applying it to the center of my lips. And I'm bringing it up to the top. Cupid's bow area again. And this is my finished look. I know it's not as glossy and glowy as that particular horse, but I think for just using a bunch of highlighters and shimmer products on my skin, especially on textured skin, I think I did a pretty decent job in replicating the kind of effect that I really wanted from the horse. And I know that I talked about a lot of different kinds of highlighters that I like for my textured skin, but all in all, just use whatever makes you happy. I really love using all my metallic, fine shimmer kinds of highlighters. I'm also a sucker for those really special, glittery, shimmery ones because I just can't say no to shimmers of any kind. And you know what? Over the years, I just don't really care about how my skin and how my acne scars are looking like anymore because they're just an integral part of my person, and no matter what I do, they're just not gonna go away. So why deprive yourself of using products that you like? And why look like a perfect version of yourself to others when you can just be looking perfect to yourself and being perfectly happy and content with whatever you're using on your skin and on your body? So this turned out to be a little bit of an inspirational video, I guess. But I hope that you enjoyed watching me play around with different highlighters to become this horse that has enraptured my body and my mind and my soul for a couple of days. And if you do replicate this look, I would love to see, because where will you be wearing this look out? I would like to know. If you like my video, do feel free to subscribe. I post videos on occasion about my hobbies, especially makeup. And if you'd like to see more of my makeup related content and my makeup looks, do follow me on my Instagram and TikTok. Everything is listed here because I have a couple of accounts floating around now because I'm trying to figure out what to do with my social media. So just follow whatever you want. All my makeup details and my socials will also be linked in the description box below. So thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video.